Realme has been going absolutely ham with affordable smartphone launches in 2021, and the company has really been pushing towards democratizing smartphones with lucrative features and specs. Today we have with us the Realme 8 5G, a 5G enabled smartphone in the sub 20k price segment. Hi, I'm Dhriti from Digit, and let's delve right into this review. Before we get into the review, remember to subscribe to the channel if you're new here and hit the bell icon to get notified about future videos. While the Realme 8 5G may seem like a simple 5G upgrade over the regular Realme 8, in reality it really isn't the case. The phone comes with vastly different specs and hardware such as a different SoC, camera stack and even display. There have been some compromises made to include 5G at an affordable price, and that clearly reflects in the spec sheet in comparison to the Realme 8. So let's take a look at some of the key specifications of the device. The Realme 8 5G is the very first smartphone launched in India to be powered by the MediaTek Dimensity 700 SoC based on the 7nm production process. The chipset will probably be a popular one for bringing 5G connectivity to the masses at an affordable price point. It features two ARM Cortex A76 big cores at a max clock speed of 2.2 GHz and six ARM Cortex A55 cores with a max clock speed of 2 GHz. As for the graphics, the Dimensity 700 SoC comes with the Mali G57 GPU. This is paired with 4 or 8 GB of LPDDR4X RAM and 128 GB UFS 2.1 internal storage. Realme has also integrated a technology that they dub Dynamic RAM Expansion that converts storage or ROM into VRAM or virtual RAM. According to Realme, the 4GB model will essentially act like a 5GB RAM phone, and the 8GB one, which we got for review, will act like a 11GB RAM phone. The phone supports various 5G SA and NSA bands and 5G dual SIM dual standby. The Realme 8 5G houses a 5000 mAh battery with support for 18-watt fast charging, which is slightly disappointing considering the Realme 8 came with 30-watt dart charge support. As for the display, the Realme 8 5G houses a 6.5-inch IPS LCD panel with Full HD Plus resolution and 90 Hz refresh rate. The phone also supports adaptive refresh rate that intelligently switches between display profiles as per the requirement. You get a punch hole selfie camera cutout on the top left-hand corner of the display, and the device employs drag and trail glass for protection. Moving on to the cameras, the Realme 8 5G comes equipped with a triple rear camera array consisting of a 48 megapixel primary lens, a 2 megapixel black and white portrait lens, and a 2 megapixel macro shooter. On the front, you have a 16 megapixel selfie camera. Lastly, the phone runs Realme UI 2.0 based on Android 11. As seen with the Realme 8, the Realme 8 5G is also heavily focused on keeping the device slim and lightweight. The device weighs 185 grams and isn't very thick either at 8.5 mm. The back panel features a glossy finish, which in our opinion is a step down below matte finishes that are usually adopted by budget devices with plastic rear panels. Glossy back panels are notorious for being fingerprint magnets, and the Realme 8 5G's back panel is no different, with fingerprints and smudges galore within minutes of using it. On the positive side, the company has opted to remove the garish Dare to Leap logo that graced the back panels of the Realme 8 and the Realme 8 Pro. Instead, they've gone with a much cleaner look with a simple Realme logo on the bottom right. The camera module juts out considerably, and there's a significant amount of wobble when placed on a flat surface. The glossy back also makes the phone's grip feels less than adequate, and we preferred to use it with a case, which thankfully Realme has provided in the box. The Realme 8 5G comes in two colors, Supersonic Blue and Supersonic Black. We got the former for review. It doesn't look particularly striking, although there's an iridescent effect on the glossy back panel, which makes it quite interesting to look at. Now let's talk about buttons and ports. The Realme 8 5G houses a single power button on the right side. The fingerprint sensor is mounted on the power button and proved to be very responsive throughout our testing. The fingerprint sensor can be customized to unlock with a simple touch on the power button or a full-blown press, which is a nice touch since it allows users to cater to their preferences. On the left, you have the volume buttons and the SIM tray. The buttons have good feedback and are very responsive. The SIM tray houses 2 nano SIMs and a micro SD card for expandable storage up to 1 TB. In case the 128 GB isn't enough for you, there is more than enough room to expand the storage considerably. The bottom of the device houses the USB-C charging port, the sole speaker on the phone, and a 3.5mm audio jack. We were slightly disappointed to not see dual stereo speakers included since phones at much lower price points such as the Poco M3 have also been offering it. The sole speaker, however, is relatively loud and crisp, but it would be preferable to have a stereo setup for more immersion. The Realme 8 5G houses a large 6.5-inch IPS LCD display at full HD Plus resolution with a punch hole cutout for the selfie camera. In contrast, the Realme 8, priced under 15K, features a Super AMOLED display and an in-display fingerprint sensor. So some compromises have been made here to keep the 5G-enabled Realme 8 priced competitively. Still, you get a smooth 90Hz refresh rate on the panel that makes scrolling and flicking between apps appear smooth. The panel looks crisp, and while the display may not be the most color accurate, it does make the content pop and look more visually appealing. The phone also supports adaptive refresh rate, where it intelligently selects the adequate refresh rate for a particular app. This goes a long way in preserving battery life in comparison to if you were to have 90Hz turned on at all times, so it's good to have the option. Moving on to the performance of the Realme 8 5G, the device is powered by the new MediaTek Dimensity 700 SoC and is the first phone in India to feature this chipset. Our review unit came with 8 GB of LPDDR4X RAM and 128 GB storage. In our usual set of benchmarking tests, the Realme 8 5G delivered a convincing performance. The phone outshone its rivals in benchmarks such as Antutu, Geekbench 5 and PCMarkWork 2.0. The Realme 8 5G scored over 100,000 more than the Redmi Note 10 in Antutu and over 3,000 more in PCMarkWork 2.0. It even beat the more expensive Redmi 10 Pro Max by a similar margin in both Antutu and PCMarkWork 2.0. Oddly enough, the phone even outperformed the company's own Realme Narzo 30 Pro in Antutu, but scored slightly lower than it in Geekbench 5. The phone managed to beat out both the Redmi Note 10 and Note 10 Pro Max in Geekbench 5 as well. So when it comes to benchmarks, the Realme 8 5G does swimmingly. These benchmark scores, however, should be taken with a grain of salt since MediaTek SoCs are notorious for boosting performance for benchmarking tests. Coming to GPU performance, the Realme 8 5G yet again manages to beat out the Redmi Note 10 and a few other phones under 15K convincingly in 3D Mark Wildlife and GFX Bench. In our gaming test, the Realme 8 5G recorded an average FPS of 30 at 93% stability in Call of Duty Mobile on Gamebench in the default graphics settings, which was set to medium. We lowered the settings and recorded a median FPS of 39 with 91% stability. We then switched over to Asphalt 9 Legends, where we recorded a median FPS of 30 with 90% stability, which is pretty decent. In real-world gaming, the phone feels pretty smooth when playing titles such as Call of Duty Mobile and Asphalt 9 with little stutter or lag. However, the phone does get considerably warm when gaming, especially over extended periods of time. In real-world usage, the phone performs admirably well. Performing basic tasks and multitasking is a smooth affair on the Realme 8 5G. The 8 GB of RAM on our review unit really showed its mantle, and we were able to keep several apps open in the background over long periods. There is barely any stutter or lag when scrolling between screens and opening different apps. Scrolling on social media, websites, and YouTube was extremely smooth due to the 90Hz refresh rate as well. Overall, there's very little to fault with the phone's ability to carry out day-to-day operations. Now, if you're doing more intensive work such as editing a video on InShot, the phone is pretty slow at exporting the final video. However, it's not something most people do on a daily basis. The phone is a capable performer for day-to-day tasks and even gaming for the most part. The software, however, isn't our favorite. While Realme UI looks pretty clean, it is chock full of third-party pre-installed apps such as Amazon Music, Booking.com, Duo, Netflix, Soloop, and others. There are also numerous Realme apps pre-installed on the device. Apps such as Soloop, Booking.com, and Amazon Music aren't used by most people, so we weren't a fan of Realme crowding the phone with these mostly non-utilitarian apps. The phone runs Realme UI 2.0 based on Android 11, and there's tons of customizations you can do in the settings. Overall, while we are fans of the Realme UI's looks, we could do without the horde of bloatware. Still, it doesn't plague you with as many ads as MIUI does though. Now for the optics. The Realme 8 5G comes equipped with a triple camera array consisting of a 48 megapixel primary lens with an f1.8 aperture, a black and white portrait 2 megapixel shooter, and a 2 megapixel macro camera. For selfies, the phone houses a 16 megapixel shooter. The phone misses out on an ultra-wide lens which is present in competitors such as the Redmi Note 10. Even the regular Realme 8 includes an 8 megapixel ultra-wide shooter. Now, the Realme 8 5G isn't the best performer when it comes to the cameras of the phone. While daylight shots with ample light usually turn out decent with good detail and color, the dynamic range of the phone is not the best. Photos with tricky lighting often lack detail in the shots, and there's a perceivable amount of grain in the shots as well. This trend worsens in low-light photography, where the performance is mediocre at best. There's plenty of noise in the shots, and the camera struggles a lot to lock focus on subjects in low light. Realme's Nightscape mode doesn't work as well as expected, with the night mode shots looking almost as grainy, dark, and noisy as the ones without night mode on. For portrait photography, the main camera disappoints yet again, with the camera struggling to blur the background in some shots when portrait mode is active. For shots it does manage to blur the background, the blur isn't very accurate. Additionally, human skin tones are often made to look more orange, and the face is often softened as well. The macro lens on the phone is yet another disappointment, since the 2 megapixel lens lacks autofocus and simply refuses to lock focus on objects that are too close to the camera. The shots are often blurry and lack detail. The 16 megapixel selfie camera shoots decent selfies with good amount of detail, but the facial features are softened yet again, and the orangish tint continues to persist. Video quality is decent, but the videos usually suffer from shake if you're walking or running. Overall, the Realme 8 5G simply isn't a good option for people who expect consistency and quality from their smartphone cameras. The Realme 8 5G sports a sizable 5000 mAh battery which performs pretty well. The phone houses a 90Hz refresh rate display that cuts down the battery life considerably if kept on at all times. However, if you use auto refresh rate mode or simply default to 60Hz, you're looking at a phone that can easily last a day and a half with moderate usage and a full day with heavy usage. In our tests, streaming Netflix for half an hour drained the battery by merely 5%, and 15 minutes of Call of Duty Mobile brought it down by 7%. The phone supports 18-watt fast charging, which is slightly underwhelming, especially since the Realme 8 came with 30-watt dart charge support. The Realme 8 5G took 2 hours and 23 minutes to charge from 0 to 100%, which is laboriously slow by 2021 standards. The Realme 8 5G is a feather in the company's cap when it comes to performance in phones under 20K. The smartphone performs admirably well in most scenarios and beats out its competitors in most benchmarks. While MediaTek does have a reputation of boosting cores for benchmarking tests, the real-world performance of the phone didn't disappoint when it comes to gaming, multitasking, or performing basic tasks. What did disappoint us though is the camera's performance that proved to be mediocre at best. Low light and portrait photography in particular showed significant weaknesses, and there are numerous phones under 20K offering a better experience in this department. If performance matters to you the most in a smartphone and you're looking for an inexpensive 5G ready phone, the Realme 8 5G is a no-brainer. Thank you so much for watching the video. Remember to share this video if you liked watching it. Thanks again.